This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Cool as Ice, a comedy drama musical from 1991 directed by David Kellogg. Unfortunately, it's also an acting vehicle for rapper Vanilla Ice, portraying an idealized version of himself named Johnny. He and his posse roll into a quiet suburban town on the way to a show, only for one of their motorcycles to break down. They stick around for a few days while it's being repaired, during which Johnny becomes attracted to a local girl, Kathy, whose upper-class lifestyle is at odds with his less-than-proper mannerisms. Despite this, they both end up falling for each other, much to the dismay of Kat's father, who believes Johnny is involved with people from his past who have found him and are looking to settle a score. That'll be about as interesting as it gets, by the way. Again, this movie isn't really meant to be much more than something for its lead actor to show off and talk about how he was a leading actor to others. At least I think that's how it works. Anyways, a primary amount of focus falls on Johnny and how he makes his way through this relatively unfamiliar world. Unfortunately, it amounts to him acting self-assured and cocky, which ends up being more of an annoyance than a personality, especially as events tend to happen around him rather than because of him. It kinda makes you wonder if the movie would have found a way to work out without Johnny at all, given how little he actually contributes outside of the rather forced and flimsy romantic storyline. To be fair, that is supposed to be the major half of the overall narrative, but the cliched events and the rushed story progression don't do it any favors. If there is anything here that has actual worth, it would probably be most, if not every, other character other than Johnny, all of whom put in far more effort into having a real screen presence than he does, even in spite of the underwhelming material they've been given and the primary figure they're supposed to support. The other element of this movie that puts a point in its favor would have to be its actual visual design. There is a good amount of attention put into this world and its environment, not only when it comes to the sort of pastiche of suburban family life, but also in the more modern ways that Johnny, his friends, and a few others break away from this image and find other sorts of personal expression. I mean, I don't think it's really that deep, but there is a great amount of visual style going on, thanks mostly in part to the cinematography, which is much more refined and varied than a movie of this caliber deserves. It manages to maintain a cross between contemporary MTV-like exaggerations and more expressive or emotion-driven imagery, which again allows the character performances to really shine or to accentuate the settings themselves. As for the film's music choices, Vanilla Ice is sadly on the mic for most of them. The rest of the tracks are pretty neat and somewhat varied, but at the end of the day, this movie is, again, made for its main star. Despite everything else that could have worked in its favor, the lackluster writing and its subsequent lack of presence for its leading man, not to mention his own uninspiring performance throughout, almost negate any other merits that this film might have had. Cool as Ice, David Kellogg, 1991. 1.5 stars. I wouldn't recommend watching it yourself, unless you put it on mute to check out the cinematography. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. You know, sometimes I miss there being movies that were just blatant attempts to push a rising talent into the film industry. Then I see a movie like this, and I understand why they put an end to that practice.